You found it. It's the real news with your host, David Knight.
But let's take a look at what Giuliani said about the latest details of this, because it has set the pundit sphere on fire. As Giuliani says that Trump repaid $130,000 that his lawyer spent to quiet the porn star. President Trump said, I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about the money. Rudy Giuliani goes on, Sean Hannity, and says that Trump repaid the $130,000 that Michael Cohen gave to Stormy Daniels to buy her silence about an alleged affair with the president. Giuliani said he didn't know about the specifics of it, as far as I know, but he did know about the general arrangement that Michael would take care of things like this. He said the payments did not violate campaign finance laws because it was not drawn from the Trump campaign funds. Trump says that this was part of a retainer that he paid to the lawyer that covered this porn star payment. President Trump said, as AP News points out, today that reimbursement to his personal lawyer for hush money paid to porn actress Stormy Daniels was done through a monthly retainer and, quote, had nothing to do with the campaign, unquote. Trump says his personal attorney, Cohen, received a monthly retainer from which he entered into, quote, from which he entered into through reimbursement, a private contract between two parties known as a non-disclosure agreement. This was used to stop the false and extortionist accusations made by her about an affair. Now, Giuliani's revelation, says the AP, seemed aimed at reducing the president's legal exposure, but outside experts say that it raised a number of questions, including whether the money represented repayment of an undisclosed loan or could be seen as reimbursement for campaign expenditure. Asked aboard Air Force One last month whether he knew about the payment, Trump had said flatly no. Trump also said he didn't know why Cohen had made the payment or where he got the money. Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti, I think is his name, called the comment a stunning revelation. This is a guy, by the way, that CNN has had on 59 times in the last 2 months, basically once a day. They are milking this thing for everything that they can get out of it. And so Giuliani comes out and says that money was not campaign money. Sorry, I'm giving you a fact now that you don't know. It's not campaign money, no campaign finance violation. However, AP News says some legal experts disagree. The question is, they said, if the payment was wholly personal, says an expert in election law at the University of California, Irvine, there would be no campaign finance violation. But Giuliani's argument that the payment was unrelated to the campaign appears to be, quote, pretty far-fetched given the timing. Because this happened just days before the election, it happened after the Access Hollywood tape. Let's play video clip number one. This is Rudy Giuliani talking about the campaign finance aspects with Sean Hannity last night.
Let me go back to the main crux. The crux is that we have a two-tier justice system. The president's right when he says witch hunt?
Yeah. Sure. You can't explain this any other way. First of all, there never should have been an investigation. There was no Russian collusion. We're now a year and a half, 2 years into this no Russian collusion, case over. In falling all over themselves to investigate him, they have committed numerous violations, including lies, which are criminal, deception, outrageous search warrants like the one on Cohen. How about we go back to Manafort, breaking into his house?
2005 and 6 had nothing to do with Russia.
What, a drug dealer? I remember, this is crazy. He wasn't a violent criminal.
Where does this end, sir?
What they did to Manafort, I used to do to the mafia. Not
drug dealers, mafia members,
and killers.
How is this? How do you see this ending? And you've talked to Mueller.
Well, they're going to write a report. They cannot indict him. I don't believe they can subpoena him. They're going to have to write a report. If we don't be interviewed, or if we do get interviewed, they'll write the report based on the interview. They won't write it before, like Hillary got, because he's not a special person.
All right, there he is saying that the crux of the issue is the special treatment that Hillary Clinton got. And, of course, the special treatment that President Trump is getting. Different kinds of special treatment, however. And when you look at some of the questions that were leaked about what Mueller wants to ask, it gets to the point as to whether or not there is collusion. And I've got a clip for you. Actually, I think we get these things a little bit out of order here. I've got a clip where Giuliani is talking about the fact that there wasn't any collusion. If there wasn't any crime, as Trump has pointed out, then how do you have obstruction of a non-crime? And also pointing out that Trump would be crazy to sit down with Mueller. I think this is one of the issues going on with the change that we saw on the legal team. It appears that Ty Cobb is saying that President Trump can be called by Mueller, actually should be called by Mueller. There was a big disagreement within the Trump legal team. He has been removed, and we now have a guy who has a lot of experience with this, Emmett Flood, who has, for the most part, worked for Bush-type Republicans, worked for Bush, as a matter of fact, and other types of Republicans like that, but also served on the impeachment team for Bill Clinton. So he knows his way around that. When we come back, we're going to play you some more clips about what Rudy Giuliani had to say about whether or not President Trump should be interviewed and whether or not he will be interviewed. We'll be right back. I'm David Knight. Welcome back. Let's take a look at some of the other things that Rudy Giuliani said as he was interviewed by Sean Hannity last night as to likelihood as to whether or not Mueller would be able to get President Trump to testify before him. And Giuliani has some interesting things to say about that, about his opinion of it, and the rest of the legal team. And quite frankly, as he said, pretty much every lawyer in America, except maybe Ty Cobb, who just left the legal team, thinks that's a bad idea. Here's Rudy Giuliani.
Well, the special counsel would like to interview the president. There's no secret about that. Every lawyer in America thinks he shouldn't be. We, meaning myself and Jay Sekulow and the Raskins and all the people involved in the investigation, and now our new colleague, Emmett, we're going to have to decide, probably it falls more on us because he's on the government side, whether the president should grant an interview. Now, here's what it's all about. It's real simple. And American people can follow this along with me. Are they objective? Are they? Well, yeah. Right now,
no, rhetorical
a lot of
question.
Point in the direction of they made up their mind that Comey's telling the truth and not the president. When you look at those questions about what does the president think, what does the president feel, what does the president really desire, those are all questions intended to trap him in some way in contradicting what is, in fact, a very, very solid explanation of what happened.
Asking him subjective questions, in other words.
Because Comey would not, among other things, say that he wasn't a target of the investigation. He's entitled to that. Hillary Clinton got that, and he couldn't get that. So he fired him, and he said, I'm free of this guy, and he went on Lester Holt. Lester Holt's interview was as good as anybody could do, better than I think any of the people around Mueller could have done. Lester Holt asked him, why'd you do it? He said, I did it because I felt that I had to explain to the American people their president was not the target of the investigation. And even Jake Tapper pushed him like really hard. I'm talking about Comey. Comey had no answer for why he didn't say this, even though he had done the same thing for Hillary. So you can't blame the president for feeling, I am not being treated the same way they were.
Yeah, exactly. What he was trying to do was to leave this cloud of criminality hanging over President Trump. It was a very deliberate tactic, what Comey was doing. And Giuliani had more to say about Comey. Let's play the next clip.
They know the decision I make is going to be in the best interest, not just of my client, but the United States. If they're objective, we can work something out. If they're not, then we have to shake hands and basically go into a litigation over, do they have the power to subpoena? And I think they lost that power. This is a completely tainted investigation.
Explain.
Well, you have an investigation in which Mueller is selected the day after he's turned down for FBI director by Rosenstein, who was there when Mueller was turned down. There are thousands of people that could have been selected for that job. Also a friend of James Comey, and James Comey seems to be their core of their investigation. He's telling the truth. The president isn't. I know James Comey. I know the president. Sorry, Jim, you're a liar, a disgraceful liar. Every FBI agent in America has his head down because of you. It would have been good for God if God had kept you out of being head of the FBI.
Explain.
Just leave him at HSBC.
Well, he lied about his conversation with McCabe. He knew all of McCabe's conflicts. McCabe should testify against him. He lied about his conversations with the president. He only told the truth when the president said, We know Donald. I'm sorry, Mr. President. He was Donald before. He lied about the fact that they talked about whether the president was a subject or a target. Then he immediately changed it. It's one lie after another.
Rod